Well, hi there. My name is David Wakely and I'm the children's pastor of Hillsong Church in Sydney, Australia. And I am right here in our Hillsong Church TV studio. And we are doing a little bit of a thing where we're hanging out with a bunch of kids. Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
And what I'm going to do today is a little bit of a training for KDGs, Kids Discipleship Groups, our small groups for children. This is not a usual setup. You guys don't come here on the weekends, do you? No, this is kind of just basically our studio. We use tables a little bit, pretty much like this. This is one of the tables we've used, nice big round tables. We've got Bibles. These Bibles here are actually, we found a lot of kids forgot to bring their Bibles. Who always forgets to bring their Bible to church? Yeah, exactly. So what happens is we decided, well, instead of just, let's just make Bibles at church. We've got a whole bunch of, I think they are NIV Bibles, and just covered them in some nice covering. So we know that they're ours. Nice orange. It's very hard to mistake a kid taking an orange Bible home. So we made them orange so they just specifically stay here at church. And we just provide Bibles for kids because rather than try and fight against, please bring Bibles, children, then we just provide them at church and it makes it much easier for our KDGs. Well, we have been, if we're pretending now, you guys ready to pretend? If this was a service, we would have been all together as one group. We would have done praise and worship. What else, guys? What do we usually do on a Sunday morning? Preaching would have happened, maybe the offering, yeah?
Singing.
We've usually done the praise and worship singing. Maybe we've learned the Bible verse, watched the video, the teaching video, the big message on our big curriculum, and then we break it down and we get together in small groups. So I want to talk about one thing here before you even start a KDG. You may have rules in your children's ministry. We have a win at Hillsong Kids. There's 5 things, and what they are is number 1, always be kind to others. Does anybody know these? Listen while others are speaking. Oh my goodness, what are the rest of them?
I know the last one.
Put your hand up and wait to be asked to speak. Number 4, be involved. And number 5,
Have
they all know number 5, of course, have fun. You may have a similar deal. We don't really call them rules, but we just say win at Hillsong Kids. Number 1, always be kind to others. And those are our kind of rules, as if you were. But one of the good things to do is to get everybody here, the kids, to make the rules. So at the beginning of this, before we even start, perhaps at the beginning of a school term, at the beginning of the year, especially if you've got a regular group of kids, it's a good idea to let them set the rules. So let's try that right now. You guys ready to go? So let's pretend we've just arrived and we want to set the rules. And what we might do is just talk about the fact that we really want to have a great KDG. And one of the important things is letting everybody get heard, making sure we don't speak at the same time and all those things. So what do you guys think are some things that, what's a good way to have a really good KDG today? How can we do that? What are some things we shouldn't be doing?
Listen.
Listening, great. What else?
Be patient while others are.
Being patient, waiting, that's good. Anything else? You guys got any ideas? Yeah.
Eating food.
You want to have, well, we'll definitely have food. Yes, Melanie?
Listen to the rules.
Listening? Okay, fantastic. What about if we all agreed to listen when others are speaking? Is that a good one?
Yeah.
Okay, now listen, what you've done is you've got the kids to agree to a rule. You haven't set the rule, you've all got them to make it up for you. If you do that, it's much easier to enforce because if they're all talking out of turn, let's say Olivia's talking and she keeps talking and I can say, hang on Olivia, didn't we make a rule at the beginning? What was that rule? And she'll say to listen when others are speaking. And then what you've done then is Olivia is remembering the rule that she herself agreed to at the beginning. What I'm holding in my hand here is one of the quick reference guides. These are available to print out, and it literally has pretty much almost like a cheat sheet for the entire KDG. It always starts with a connect time. And that's a great way to connect with your kids, connect with each other. Let's pretend there was somebody new in the service. So I'm going to pretend over here, we've got a brand new kid in our service today. He's never been here before. What's your name?
Josh.
Josh! Everyone say hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Now, Josh, of course, isn't new, and he knows everybody here. But let's pretend he was. A great way to get them connected is literally to talk about Josh. I always like to make a little bit fun of new people. If it's kind of appropriate, you could pretend like, have you got a girlfriend, Josh? They always love talking about girlfriends and boyfriends. Breaks the ice. And if they do have one, it's always a good opportunity to talk to their parents about boundaries. But, of course, if Josh was new, we'd just make him feel welcome. We'll get to know him a little bit, highlight him a little bit. Don't make him stand out too much. So, Josh, how old are you?
9.
You forgot? No? He's 9? 9 years old. So we could bring Josh into the circle. Literally, it's a great way if you've got someone else. Let's say Fraser here was really really friendly, we could get them to hang out with Josh and spend time with them and get them connected into the group. But there's always a question. We like to start off every single KDG with a question, a Connect Time question. So today, we're talking about the Connect Time, and the question is this, talking about who has been the furthest away from this country. So I'm in Australia right now, so you got to tell me who's been the furthest away from this country, yes?
England.
England, that's quite a long way away. You've been to England, who's been further than England?
Sweden.
Sweden, what do you think? Is that closer than England?
No.
Yeah.
Anybody else been further away? Who's never been out of Australia? Never been out. One day, don't worry, you'll get to go. I've been to England as well. I've been to Turkey. That's pretty cool.
You've been to America?
So I haven't been to South Africa. I've been to America, but I haven't. So I think Sweden's pretty good. I mean, England's pretty good, but Sweden. So literally, you spend a little bit of time just connecting. They're either questions, Connect Time, or they're just random things to do with your kids to get them to break the ice and hang out and find out. A great way to do is, like what I was doing, we've done at the beginning, is just finding out what they've been doing recently. It's a great indicator of what kids are up to, especially after school holidays, finding out what movies they've seen, gauging what they find cool and what they don't find cool. So, Connect Time. Now we move on to the next section of KDGs, which is the big question. This is a really, really important time. You'll notice everybody is sitting here and there's nothing much in front of them. If you look around the table, we've got pens in the middle of the table. You, of course, need pens for if you're going to do the worksheets. We've got food there for a little bit later. We've got the Bibles out. But what you want to do is, before you get anything into their hands, anything that they can do and play with, there's nothing worse than giving kids something to play with, and then they might get a little bit distracted. The good idea is to get through the big question before you give them anything to do. So, we're going to start off, and this is a really important time to literally connect really quite powerfully with the kids, and especially connect your story. This is a great time to talk about what's happened in your life and connect it with the kids. So, are you ready to go, guys?
Yeah.
So the big question. So this theme today is devoted to prayer. Excuse me. And copycat. The big idea is copycat. So this is the week, I think, 1.2, the second week in our devoted to prayer. So in Follow You, the curriculum, there are 3 months. This is actually the first month and the second week. And it's called Copycat. And the idea is I can follow the example of Jesus when I pray. So that's what we want you guys to go home with understanding. The one thing that you'd want to convey to each child was that big point. I can follow the example of Jesus when I pray. You guys got that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They would have already seen the video about it. They will have already seen maybe preaching about it. Everything is geared towards helping kids understand that one big point. So listen, how can you follow the example of Jesus when you pray? Just ask it away, and we're going to get some ideas. So how can you follow the example of Jesus when you pray? Who's got some ideas? Anybody? You got any ideas? Well, Jesus, what did he do in the Bible? How did he pray? Can someone tell me an example of when Jesus prayed in the Bible? Who knows? You remember when Jesus prayed?
When he was together with the 12 disciples.
Together with the 12 disciples. He did that. He prayed went off alone sometimes, but he also prayed with them. What else? Who can remember? I'm thinking of a couple of times in the Bible where Jesus really prayed.
He prayed for the 5 loaves of bread and the fish.
Basically said grace, didn't he? He said grace for the 5 loaves and turned it into thousands and fed 5,000 people. Yep.
He asked for forgiveness on the person who for the people who put him on the cross as he was dying.
That's a massive prayer. Well done. Now, it's important to remember that no ideas are wrong. You always want to, even if an idea is right out there, maybe I said, what's an example of Jesus praying? And they started talking about Moses. Well, you never want to, when a child ventures an answer, especially if they're a little bit shy or perhaps don't get involved as much, you always want to reward the attempt. So you always want to say, thank you for answering. That's not quite correct. Or you might want to think, well, we're not really talking about Moses, but you really want to validate any answer that you get, because just having a go is a great step for a child. So we're talking about Jesus when he prayed. He prayed a lot, but I think the one we're talking about and we've been talking about is the Lord's Prayer. Who knows it? Who knows? How does it go? Let me kick you off, see if you can remember. It goes, Our Father in heaven. Is that right?
Yeah.
Hallowed be your name, your kingdom. So you remember that one. Now we've been talking about this. Now, if we'd watched the video, they've already gone through this prayer, and hopefully the kids will connect the dots together. But that prayer is all about Jesus telling us how to pray and showing his disciples how to pray. So, do you have to use big words or pray for a long time for God to hear you?
No.
No. Well, how long does a prayer have to be?
As long as you want.
As long as you want, or maybe as short as you want. Has anyone prayed what's the longest you reckon you've ever prayed for? What do you think, Jade?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. 10-minute prayer. That's pretty good. That's good to pray for that long.
2 minutes.
2 minutes? Yep.
30 seconds.
30, is that the longest? Unbelievable. What else?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. That's pretty good. Well, some people pray for hours. I've heard of pastors and people that actually literally pray for hours. They might be kneeling down. They might be praying for hours. But the thing is, the Bible doesn't talk about how long we should pray, but it just says we should pray. And I think it's more important how often we pray than how long our prayers are. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. So first of all, what else can we pray for? Yeah?
For other people.
Other people. That's fantastic. Yep.
Compassion children.
So yeah, definitely. Other people, compassion children, things like that. Yep.
Like healing other people.
Healing for other people. Other people is really important.
What we need, not what we want.
I like that. Needs, not wants. So give me an example of a need. What do we need? Someone tell me. Yell it out. Food, house,
Money.
water,
Money.
definitely money. I think money's very important. Otherwise, you can't get water or a house, can you? All right, so there is the big question. Those are discussion times. Now, of course, you can get a lot deeper and talk about needs and wants. What I would probably do at this point is talk about a time when myself and my wife were in Bible college and we really needed something, and when we prayed for it and God came through in prayer. So I would literally tell them a story and connect God's story with my story, and that's really important for the big question. So, after you've done the big question, a good thing to do is move on to the activity sheets. You guys want to pass these along? I'll hand them out here. So if you go that way, and if you guys want to go, hand them out that way. Now this is the time where it can get a little hectic in your KDG, but you can grab the pens. So everyone grab a pen from the middle of the table. If you want to pass it over here. I've got my pen already. At the top, you've got your name and a space for your name. There are 3 different types of KDG studies. There are the younger children, older children, and pre-teen. Today, I'm using the older children KDG studies. So these kids, some of them are pre-teens, some of them the older children. Here, do you need one over here? There we are. So you make sure everybody's got a KDG. If your goal is to complete the activity sheets, then it's the wrong goal in my mind. Completing an activity sheet does not guarantee learning or internalizing of any messages. The goal of our KDG should be always connection, should always be learning, of course. However they learn. Some kids may learn really well from a worksheet, other kids may not. Never let completing the worksheet be the goal of your KDG. The goal of our KDG should always be connection, ministry, learning. However that gets accomplished is fine. So that's why we have these different learning styles. So here what we're looking at. We're looking at the Bible verses. Have you guys found any Bible verses yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so Luke, who'd like to read Luke 6:12? Tell you what, Fraser, why don't you start it off for me?
One of those days, Jesus went out to the mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God.
So why don't we write down the big points? Everyone can write it down. It says, who can say, remember it? What was it? I can follow the example of Jesus when I pray. So everyone write that at the bottom. I can follow the example of Jesus when I pray. Now that's another way to reinforce this big point, the one point that we want them to go home learning. So, beside the big point, there's a space here for parents and questions. And it says at the bottom here, use these questions to kickstart discussion with your children. I always try and remind the kids of that, and I say, make sure you grab your worksheets on the way out and tell your parents about the questions. And literally, this is great questions for parents. So here it is, what do you sometimes find hard about prayer? A great question for parents to ask their kids. Now, of course, you never know what kind of use these worksheets get, whether they even make it home. But if they do, these can be quite powerful tools for connecting the ministry that you're doing at home. So that's exactly why we do the parents' questions. One of the important things is to place a little bit of value on the worksheets. You may find they turn into darts, or they may find they turn into some kind of origami concoction. What I like to do is you just remind everybody that during the week these have been printed out for everybody here. Somebody has gone to the effort of printing them out, getting everything prepared, and try and place value on the worksheets, because you don't want them just ending up as a dart or a swan at the end of your lesson. If you have time in your KDG, we can do the big activity. So I want everybody here, just chuck your pens in the middle, everybody. That's good. So close up your Bibles, put them down in the front. Now, the big activity is something you can do with your children if you've got enough time in your service. If it's a quick KDG, you may want to cut this out, or you may want to do this instead of the activity sheets. Whatever you want to do. So today we'll literally have a card that's laminated with the Lord's Prayer. So we're learning the Lord's Prayer today. It's how Jesus told his disciples to pray, and exactly how he taught us to pray as disciples of Jesus. But that is very useful and great, especially for the people that learn by doing. Now, the big word is a very important segment, because every single month we have a different memory verse. And this month, it's a big memory verse. You guys, I think we've done this a couple of months ago with these kids here. However you want to teach this, you've got 4 weeks to do it. Today, we're literally finding out, this is the second week that they've been doing it, finding out if they remember it, finding out if they can remember it. There's usually 1 or 2 kids that have got really good memories, or maybe they do it at home with their parents. And I can usually find 1 or a couple of kids that have known it before. But the big word is a really important time, and usually a memory verse lasts for 4 or 5 weeks. So over that, you can have a learning arc. The first week teaching it, second week remembering it, reinforcing it, and then hopefully by the 5th or the 4th week, they've remembered the memory verse. Now, there's a couple of segments left, you guys. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay, now listen. One of the most important things, of course, is prayer. Every single weekend, we love to pray with kids, pray for them, pray with them, help them pray for others. Especially get kids who maybe have never prayed out loud in a group before to do that. I love it when that happens, even if it's a short prayer, even if you have to help them pray. Let's say, let me see, over here, Will, my friend Will. Now, maybe Will's never prayed out loud in a group before. Will is, maybe he's kind of newish. One of the great ways to do it is just ask who wants to pray, and then help them pray. Even if they go, I don't know what to say. A great way to do it is literally give them the words to pray. Especially when I'm in front of a big group, even if a child is a bit nervous to pray, is just getting them up there to do it, and then literally feeding them the words to say in their ear, or when they can be on a microphone, is a really powerful way to do it. So in a small group, we might want to say, Will, do you want to pray for us? And he might be like, no. He may be, I don't want to pray, or you're embarrassed to speak out loud. And so tell you what, Will, I'll tell you what to pray, and then you can pray after me. And is there any other prayer requests? You might go around the group. Oh, look, Jade's, he's in there. He's got a prayer request.
My brother's got really bad asthma.
So we're going to pray for Jade's brother's asthma. That's a really good thing to pray for. And the prayer requests will come thick and fast. Melody?
When we got to Brisbane, we'll have a safe trip.
So I tell you what, Melody is actually moving house and moving. So we're going to pray for that move. This is a great time to pray for kids, but also get kids to pray for each other. Really important time for ministry. If there's big needs, small needs, it doesn't really matter. You're praying twofold. For ministry, for the kids specifically, and also praying that they'll help internalize this message that you've been teaching them. Then, of course, there's the game. As a ministry, we've usually played a big group game together. But depending on the structure of your service, maybe your KDGs are the first thing that you do. Well, it's a good idea to play a game, but even perhaps at the beginning of your KDG to get kids loosened up, it's a great opportunity. Of course, if you've got time to do it, but you don't have to in any way, shape or form. But it is a good thing to promise kids that if you're listening and you pay attention, then maybe we'll have time at a game at the end. You guys would be cool for that?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So if you guys have been good, we'll play a game at the end.
Sweet.
Another important thing is food. It's always a good idea to feed kids, am I right?
Yes!
All right, now, one important thing here and one great trick to do is if you've got a child who loves being the organizer, who loves being handing out stuff, who loves to hand out stuff, who likes organizing things. Let me see, I don't know who to choose. You all do. I think Monica over there. So what you do is, Monica, you can hold on to the chips, and Monica can be in charge of handing out the food. There are always kids who love justice. When I say justice, this is what I mean. If they've got 2 biscuits and someone else has 3, that is the end of the world. Is anybody like that?
Yes.
You have to be fair. Well, listen, one great thing too is you limit the amount of obviously chips that kids can have. You make a specific limit. But then also say, listen, if you're paying attention, look, I've got a few left here. I'm going to give the whole rest of these to one other kid at the end of the KDG. So getting near the end of your KDG, it may be at the end of the service or maybe halfway through the service, depending on where you put it. What we do here is put them near the end of the service. It's a fantastic thing to do to have parents pick up their kids in a KDG. What we have done in the past is have parents pick up their kids in front of a movie while keeping all the kids quiet. But for a parent just to see their kids watching a movie, that may not be maybe a very short part of the whole program, but having parents see their kids picked up when they're in a small group with the same leader each week is a very powerful thing. And of course, every single week you get to know parents and you get to connect with them. So it's a great thing to do. Of course, there are a few things here that you can do now to help you for the rest of the week. Any prayer needs. Olivia, we need to pray for her house. Let's write it down. If you may have a prayer journal, especially with our preteens, we love to have a prayer journal. You could have a little notebook and write down prayers, and you could even highlight answers to prayer, whatever it looks like. But you as the leader are possibly one of the most important links in the children's ministry. So, what else can we do? Write down specific prayer requests. Pass anything on to pastors. Or if you're a pastor yourself, write it down to follow it up during the week. Praying for kids during the week is a really powerful tool. So we could pray for Olivia's house, but you need to remember this kind of thing. So writing down a prayer journal, having a book there is fantastic. Also, where you do KDGs, obviously we talked about doing them at tables. You can do it on the floor. Have you guys ever done one on the floor before? Yeah. One of the great things and powerful things you can do for kids is have consistency. But it's also good to mix it up and have a table maybe one week and a chair on the floor, or even a great way to do it is actually, this is a folding table. You put the legs up flat and you put the table flat on the ground. Then kids can literally still have a hard surface to write on, but it also gives a little variation in what they can do. So listen, I hope this has been valuable for you. Hope you've learned a lot. If you need further training, there's more training available at hillsongkidsbig.com. What website is that?
Hillsongbigs.com.
Close. See you later.